Imagine a world balanced on a knife's edge. A world where empires clash and legends are forged in the dust and blood of the battlefield. We're going back over 2,000 years, to the year 331 BC. The location? A vast, sun-scorched plain called Gaugamela, near modern-day Mosul in Iraq. Before the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, destiny was waiting. For 10 years, a young king from a small kingdom called Macedon had been on unstoppable conquest. His name was Alexander. He had swept through Asia Minor, Syria, and Egypt, carving out an empire that defied imagination. But one final colossal obstacle stood in his path: the mighty Persian Empire, led by its King of Kings, Darius III. This wasn't just another battle. It was the final showdown. On one side, Alexander, commanding a seasoned and loyal army of about 47,000 Macedonians and Greek allies. On the other, Darius, who had gathered the full might of his sprawling empire. Ancient sources debate the exact numbers, but they all agree Darius's army was immense, potentially outnumbering Alexander's by several times. It was a sea of soldiers, stretching as far as the eye could see. Darius was no fool. He had chosen this battlefield with meticulous care. The ground was flat, wide, and open perfect terrain for his most fearsome weapon, the scythed chariot. These were war machines designed to slice through enemy formations. He even had his men level parts of the field to ensure the chariots would have a clear, devastating run. In his mind, he had prepared the stage for an undeniable Persian victory. He was confident. This was his home turf, his battle to win. But Alexander was different. He was a military genius who saw things others missed. Where Darius saw a perfect chariot battlefield, Alexander saw a trap he could turn against its creator. He knew a direct, head-on assault would be suicide. So, he devised a plan that was as audacious as it was brilliant. As his army advanced, he didn't line them up straight. Instead, he angled his right flank forward, creating an oblique formation. It looked strange, almost like he was inviting the Persians to attack his side. It was a calculated risk, a baited hook designed to lure the massive Persian left wing into overextending and creating a weakness. The Persians took the bait. As the sun climbed higher, the air filled with the deafening roar of war horns and the thunder of hooves. The battle began. A massive wave of Persian cavalry and those terrifying scythed chariots charged forward, aiming to smash the Macedonian line. It must have been a terrifying sight. A storm of men, horses, and flashing blades hurtling across the plain. But the Macedonians were not ordinary soldiers. They were the phalanx, a living, breathing wall of men, armed with sarissa spears up to 18 feet long. They were a testament to discipline and courage. As the chariots bore down on them, they didn't break. They executed a perfectly drilled maneuver, opening their ranks to let the chariots pass through into a corridor of death, where they were quickly neutralized. The Persian cavalry crashed against the forest of spears, but the Macedonian phalanx held firm, unyielding, a rock against the tide. All the while, Alexander was watching, waiting, his eyes scanning the chaos for the one thing his entire strategy depended on. And then he saw it. As the Persian left wing surged forward to envelop his flank, just as he had predicted, a gap began to open in their center. It was a fleeting moment, a tiny tear in the fabric of the vast Persian army. But for a commander like Alexander, a moment was all he needed. With timing that can only be described as supernatural, he gave the signal. Leading his elite companion cavalry, he wheeled his force and charged. Not at the flanks, not at the infantry, but straight into the breach he had engineered. It was a spearhead thrust aimed directly at the heart of the Persian army, at the one man whose fall would mean the end of everything, Darius himself. The shock of this sudden, violent charge into the Persian center was immediate. The units around Darius, who were supposed to be his personal guards, were thrown into disarray. The Persian line, which had seemed so strong just moments before, began to buckle. Panic is a contagion on the battlefield, and it spread like wildfire. Seeing Alexander and his cavalry cutting a bloody path straight towards him, Darius did the unthinkable. He turned his chariot and fled. The flight of the king was the death knell for the Persian army. When the soldiers saw their leader abandoning them, their courage shattered. What began as a retreat turned into a full-blown rout. The hope of the Persian Empire galloped away with its fleeing king. The battle was won. The aftermath of Gaugamela was world-altering. The Achaemenid Persian Empire, which had been the greatest power on earth for over 2 centuries, began to crumble. Alexander would march on to capture the great cities of Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, claiming the immense wealth of the empire for himself. The Battle of Gaugamela wasn't just a tactical masterpiece. It was the moment a brilliant young king cemented his place in history as Alexander the Great. It was the day the axis of power shifted from the east to the west, a change that would shape the course of civilization for centuries to come. On that dusty plain, the ancient world was changed forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more epic stories from history. See you next time.